Welcome back to Pro League, everybody. We are having some technical difficulties with our sound, but can't really hear each other right now, but that's going to be fixed in just a second. We did see the predictions here were 5-1 in favor of Maru.
Yeah, no surprise there. Maru, he is fantastic. He's certainly a lot more informed than Life is currently. So Life, 16-11 this season. He just hasn't been getting the wins that he did in his previous team, to be honest.
Yeah, a lot of people have really criticized Life since his move to KT. He seems a bit disillusioned from the game. A lot of people had rumored that he's been playing Legacy of the Void. He's not practicing as much, or he's kind of taking a step back, you know, with that KT paycheck. But we'll see, man. Maru, on the other hand, has also had a lot of wrist problems recently. Again, still one of those things that seems to be somewhat of a rumor, but you see him grabbing his wrist even in the early game, not APM spamming as much. The guy's clearly taking a step back. Wasn't really used much at the end of round 4 in the important matches for generic Green Wings.
Yeah, he went something like 0-5 in round 4 of Pro League, and then he kind of really just, you know, as you said, didn't have the best games. And he's been doing well in individual leagues, as we do see in GSL. Had a 2-0 2-1 versus Classic, and recently, to get into the round of 4, did 3-1 Rogue, a Zerg player.
Yeah, that's actually probably the most important stat to remember here, and that was his most previous series. So Life should be a little bit nervous coming up against this guy.
Have to agree. We'll see if Life's got a really cool strategy plan, because recently when he does come out for these matches, he's got a certain build prepared. Doesn't just play like he used to, just kind of sit back and macro. He's usually pretty aggressive, or he looks to find damage.
And these guys, all time, including unofficial, are 10-10 against each other. It could not be closer. Let's jump straight into this game on Terraform.
So you didn't press the right button.
Oh, man. All that hype.
Well, I think this is the first time this has actually happened.
Ever.
In yeah, start button is not working, guys. So,
well, I guess we'll restart that in just a second.
And of course, they do have the rep behind them, so they know that it's not a joke. And
yeah, well, we're just gonna have the lobby remade. Most likely, it's probably not gonna be a big deal.
Well, you know what we can do? We can talk about that recent match between Maru and Rogue. It showed a lot of styles. It showed a style from Maru we haven't seen much of, and it was the mech style. Very aggressive as that. Very Gumiho-oriented, sort of. I guess it really reminded me of that. But he certainly he was very overly aggressive with it, which was his biggest problem in that series.
Yeah, there were times where he was like, okay, I have 4 bases. I can get in your face. I'm not going to be super defensive like Innovation would be. And he's like, even if I do lose this army, I have a decent chance of doing some damage, and you're not going to be able to kill my 4th base on Terraform. So it was a cool style. I actually did like it. It's not something you see too often these days. And, you know, he's out on Terraform again, so that's really cool to see.
That matchup day was one of the days I actually have not been able to catch the VODs of. You mentioned he was playing like Gumiho. A lot of Thors in the mix as well with his pushes, or just kind of...
like a lot of Thors and just a lot of aggression in general. He wouldn't sit back and wait. He would actually just be the aggressor. He'd go for timings and big attacks.
He doesn't just like set up a tank line on his gold base and defend. You know, he was trying to kill the 4th base of Life, even the 5th base, deny the gold base on this map against Life. And he also added in a lot of Banshees as well. They didn't have the biggest effect overall, but it was a little bit of Maru taste as well into that mech style. But guys, we are in the game now, and up here on the top left, in the red, the Zerg player, it is Life.
The 3-time GSL champion down here at the bottom right. It's Maru, his opponent, yet to win a GSL, but this could be his chance. This could be his opportunity.
Well, let's see how he plays this one out. I wouldn't be surprised if we do see the mech again. It is the most common sort of style, especially on this map, and it's getting more and more popular in general.
And Life, as a Zerg, is not the best Zerg at holding off mech. We saw him on this map not have the greatest time. I forget exactly who he was going up against.
Well, maybe I can find it for you, Valdez.
You know, it's just not. It's not been his strength. His strength has often been winning macro games where he gets a tempo advantage from harassment and run-bys. And Mech is kind of a Turley style, right, where it's hard to find openings. It's hard to find a way into, you know, that third or fourth base.
Yeah, I think those games were against Innovation. He also lost a couple of series against Byung.
Yeah, that wasn't too long ago as well. Yeah, just Life just not finding the success we all expect him to this year, pretty much. Let's see if he's got something planned for Maru. I'm sure he's been scouting Maru a lot, especially after seeing those last 4 games he did play against Rogue. It gives him a good idea of where he's at in his TVZ.
Have to agree. Mech is kind of the meta right now, so if Life hasn't adapted by this point, you know, it really begs the question, why are you even sending him out on Terraform, right? I think that he's definitely going to have had a lot of time to prepare, think about how he's going to play against Maru specifically, because of matches were shown. They've known about this match since Friday. Something else to keep in mind, though, is a possibility of he thought he might hit a Protoss on this map, so Zerg seems to do okay. But it's definitely... we will never know what the plan was, but I expect that he's going to show us a better Zerg versus Mech than what we saw in the past.
Well, look at the start off here. Maru going to be going for that one right expand, gasless as well. So all his tech's going to be a little bit later. Just going to get that economy pumping.
We've seen it on this map sometimes, especially because this high ground can be scouted if you go up the ramp to the third base. So if you get a couple of Marines out, you can actually snipe that Overlord. It's really annoying for the Zerg, and sometimes we see them just come in and then move back with the Overlord towards where that rocks go down in the middle of the map. But Life is going to send us all the way towards the back door. Yeah,
he's going to see this command center. He's not going to see the Marines, though, which could be the problem here as they move out now towards that Overlord.
It does look like Maru has missed it, though, there in the back of his natural.
Just a little too late.
Yep, just barely. You know, the next Marine that comes out could kind of try to push the Overlord towards those other Marines, but doesn't look like he's going to find anything. Trying to predict what Life is doing.
Another command center on the way as well now for Maru, so very, very greedy opening. Double command center before gas.
Does, you know, lead for a more passive early game here. Maru not going to have those Hellions out early to harass. But he will need to be careful against such an aggressive Zerg like Life while he's being this greedy.
I think if this was Life of old, like he sees this kind of build coming in, if he has any inkling this is happening, he just like tries to go for big speed lane attack, maybe go for an all-in or of some sorts against Maru. But, you know, we have to think, is he going to do it here in this state of mind that he is in these days, where we really don't see that kind of play too often out of Life these days?
Yeah, it's generally just the very macro-oriented style that he's learned from KT, that it really just changed him as a player, and he hasn't really found the same success, and he hasn't just really been enjoying it like he used to, I feel.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good assessment of where Life is right now. He just doesn't seem to enjoy this type of play style as much. I mean, Life has always kind of played outside the box. When the Swarm Host meta was out, he often avoided playing that way and just used other styles to be aggressive, always kind of playing a different way than the other Zergs in all sorts of matchups. Now he's going to try to find some damage here, but the bunker well placed. Not going to get in here. He still hasn't seen the third CC, but based on the fact there's no Hellions on the map, he can reasonably assume that this is what's going on. Unless Maru was doing some sort of crazy Hellion drop where he hides everything or he's pooling them or something, it's pretty safe to assume at this point he's CC.
Look at this third and fourth gas as well for Maru, so he's being very gas heavy here. This could actually give away what he has planned as well. Could certainly steer towards mech when you're going for this kind of gas this early.
Yeah, I would not be surprised to see that coming in. He reduced a Roach horn being dropped down here by Life. I don't think he has been able to scout that third CC coming down here. I'm sure he can have some clue of this coming down, as we were talking about before. But he's also making a big swell of Lings with a couple of drones at the same time.
Yeah, based on that Hellion timing or lack thereof, it certainly should indicate that it was you know, the gases sort of third CC as well. So Life has a fair idea of exactly what's going on here.
He's taking this moment to grab a lair, spread his creep into 2 directions towards his third base, thrown up a little bit, get Evo chambers. I think he's really read the situation quite well. And the Lings that he's made are in a good timing to deny the Hellions any pressure and to actually also keep Maru somewhat early on 3 base.
Big scan there. He's going to only see 1 gas mining there. Might make Maru a little bit paranoid about some aggression that could be on the way.
A little bit of harassment here, but no big damage found. He's trying to find any window he can. Life, one of the best players in the world at doing this.
And we do see 3 factories are going to be up in total here, so it will be that mech style out of Maru. He is now going to be moving that 3rd orbital over to his 3rd base, whereas Life has made a small amount of roaches and lings, but is going to follow that up with more drones. So he's not all in on this. I don't think he's going to go for a big aggressive attack at that 3rd base either.
No, I think it's just simply defensive roaches for this point. Make sure no Hellion run-bys can happen and do the damage. And beyond that, it's just about securing that 4th base eventually and identifying exactly what's going on with Maru.
Well, speaking of, safety, we do see 2 siege tanks coming out here for Maru first rather than Thor's. He knows that, based on what he's seen, that there's not going to be super fast mulas, so he can afford to do this. He has seen some roaches as well. And he's going to see them even a little bit more up close now as they do actually come to this 3rd base. So I think you're right, they were for safety, but he's going to come in here now. And because there's nothing to defend, he's finding some damage. He's denying mining. He's killed a few SCVs and a Marine. And now Link's coming to follow us up. He can actually target the Hellbats.
He's going to try. The Lings do come in here onto those Hellions, and these 2 tanks are all alone back here. He's got to pick them up. Very well. Very nice micro there from Maru. And he should be able to hold this off, but that 3rd base, doesn't really have much defense at this point.
Yeah, really nice aggression from Life, actually, finding a way in. He's going to delay even further this the mining. Got to be careful not to overextend and lose everything, though. It's going to give Maru a lot of space, a lot of breathing time if he does.
It's just such a cost-efficient harass, though. He's really not overextending. He's being very cost-efficient with his small harass. He's denying refineries. He's forcing repairs and lifts on these siege tanks. And it looks like he might be doing a follow-up attack after this with Roach speed, but he has stopped production for now, just getting burrow movement and burrow and taking a 4th base, so just constantly going to continue to threaten Maru.
Yeah, I do like the style from him. If he keeps the momentum up as he goes towards his burrow and burrow movement, he could have a great timing on his hands. Still a long way away, though, and Maru is certainly getting a decent-sized army up, making Thors at this point and more tanks.
I do kind of like the way that Maru dealt with a small emergency situation there. Really tried to not deny the damage that was coming out from Life's attack. Picked up even his SCVs, didn't even lift the orbital. He knew he could keep it alive, just repaired a little bit later on. And, did some good micro trying to save as many units as possible.
Yeah, solid crisis management. Very good damage minimalization there. Adding a few Thors in the mix now. Getting a 2nd armory. Already has a +1. Would love to grab that armor in just a moment. Actually, can go into +2 first. I suppose the better choice overall.
So he doesn't forget that armor.
Yeah, well, we've seen bad things happen on this map.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think he will forget.
Oh, look at this. A big attack coming around the 3rd. And there's 1 siege tank in range kind of set up, but that can get overwhelmed by that amount of Lings pretty easily. But nothing too far away from it, though. He should be able to shut this down pretty easily. But if he gets a refinery, slowing down the gas of the mech Terran is always a good idea.
Oh, he's going to go for the big burrow in here, but there is a turret in place.
Yeah, he's going to tank, though, with 1 Roach. Looks like he might have wanted to burst the turret down for a second there, but decides against it. Can absolutely grab this refinery, though. And it's just going to take 3 shots. Will he even lose a Roach for it? Nope. Burrows away. Super fast regen. Hydra range almost done. +1/1 for range units with 24 Roaches on the map. Quite a lot of early Vikings out here. For Maru, the fear of Vipers is in his heart, but he sees the Hive is not even complete yet. The creep spread is starting to move across now 3 different directions, and maybe even 4 if he splits it across the middle of the map, which it looks like he's already doing here. And he doesn't build a gas bank yet because he's been so aggressive with this Roach force, and he's dropping all these upgrades and the Hive. But as you can see, the evolution chambers being started, so you can use that consume. And Life is getting ready for the late game.
He is. He's certainly planning to go into that Viper style. Roach Hydra behind that, so maybe going to be looking to do more aggression, trying to pick apart that mech before it gets too big. But a very nice run by here from Maru, looking for some drone kills. Going to find a few.
But I'm really happy we're seeing Life add Spine Callers. How many times have we seen Zerg players fall apart tonight? On this map, even.
Oh, I can find him on my head. Yeah, it is a rarity, and it's always been a big problem as well for Zergs against these kind of mech styles.
Is this real life?
Yeah, he's going to walk straight on top of a bunch of Roaches. He's going to get a full surround on 2 Thors. They're going to go down immediately.
And now without those Thors there, he can actually kite back against the Hellbats and kill a few more units. The Viking's totally useless in this fight. Sensor Tower was there, but no detection. And even a Ling here.
Big blunder there. And we do see Life is maxed out at this point. 12 more Roaches on the way to finish that cap. And still 40 supply to go for Maru. But if he can get this planetary up and set up shop here, he should be pretty safe. So long as he doesn't get blinding clouded.
That's really the trouble about this map. Attacking into a turn once he gets this gold base is just unbelievably hard. So I feel like Life, you know, he is going into this big composition. He's going to have 2-2 here, but he's also preparing a bit for that later game, also getting the +1 in melee. And he's got a Hive out here. Wouldn't be surprised to see some of those higher techs coming out here in a bit for Life.
Moving across the map with this, again, now with Blinding Cloud. And this is the most important fight for Maru to defend. If he defends this, you know, the game goes on. If he ends up losing too much here, Life could actually just take a win with this fight. It's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough. These Vikings have to be in place. They are currently, but he might need to be a little bit more forward so he can deal with them before the Blinding Clouds get down.
Scan there, he sees the entire army, and the split on those tanks is quite fantastic. I think Life also saw that, and he's just going to try to take another angle here.
See, this is one of the problems. He's going to grab a siege tank here.
Oh.
Saves the Viper. Very well done. He's going to grab a few Vikings on the retreat.
Oh, that abducted Viking actually took the kill on the first one, nearly killing that second one as well. All energy gone at this point, and no real damage found.
The two most important buildings, I'd say, even more important than the planetary fortress, are those two sensor towers. The other angle of attack is what you were talking about. I was going to suggest perhaps going behind the gold base. As soon as the sensor tower's up, that's no longer viable. It takes way too long to walk around there. Your entire strategy is going to be known. Going around with Roach is still going to be undetected, but you know, it's definitely going to be tough to engage directly into that. The sensor tower just allows Maru to be in position constantly, no matter what.
You're going to see the Roaches come behind there. Going to try to snipe some SCVs out, but a couple of tanks in position will shut this down. Going to once again try to come in towards that third base, but a couple of tanks there with a very nice wall of supply depots.
So much damage here, and he's still going to remax with Roaches for now, so no Ultralisk change, no Brewlord, nothing else on the plan's floor now. Is kind of an interesting idea from Life. You know, he really needs to start to think about transitioning, whether it be Ultras or Broodlords, to try and pull this army apart, because it's essentially from here, it's maxed out, and he's just banking, looking for a fifth base.
One of my concerns about the late game here for Life is that he's given Maru enough time now to where he's going to have BC tech. You know, he's already added additional starports. He just added, I believe, 4 more. He can add Ravens and BCs. His gas bank isn't there yet to make the BCs or the Ravens, but he's building it. You know, he is maxed out. And it's one of the hardest things for a Zerg player to deal with, especially with Hydras. You know, we saw one of the only reasons why Innovation ended up losing to Biel in Game 5 on this map was just simply because he didn't research the armor upgrades, the +3 armor, which would have given his BCs so much more tanking.
Yeah, certainly so. You really do need that, especially if you're dealing with Hydras. It's going to make such a big difference. And, well, Hellion Rumbai going to be looking to do some damage here. Queen blocking.
Queen, but he is going to be able to still come up into the third base. A couple of Spine Crawlers here, but this is a lot of Hellions. Hold that thought. Tons of Blinding Clouds coming in towards this gold base, trying to take it down, but...
Oh, just not enough. So many tanks up the back there, and all the Vipers did go down as well.
Very quick reaction there by Maru. Now, this base over here, losing several drones, but Blue Flame was not ready. He could have actually gone for some of that extra larva had he realized as Blue Flame finished, but he's just going to rotate over here. Now, what I was talking about before, we see Corvid Reactor, Fusion Core, durable materials, 2 BCs. He's going all the way. He's spending all of his gas bank, all of his money to go into that later. Fusion Core tech, those Tech Lab Starport techs. The Supreme Tower in late game.
Yeah, you can just take his time at this point. He's deflecting everything. He's doing economic damage. He knows exactly what Life is doing. He's just going to make sure he stays on top of the scans and knows the composition so he has the units ready. But once you got that BC numbers out, like anything is kind of fine to deal with, except maybe an extreme amount of Corruptors.
Yeah, it's kind of funny watching these two players after, you know, a bunch of time has passed since their last game on this map, especially for Life. I feel like they've both definitely improved. I'm loving the defensive style here of the mech from Maru for sure, but I feel like Life has kind of shored up some of the holes in his play. You know, he's taking earlier bases, adding a lot more static defense. He's getting out some of those techs now and adding, you know, those upgrades earlier, being a bit more greedy against the mech. But at the same time, I feel like the fact that Maru has just gotten that much better at mech, especially on this map, is going to favor him so much more because, as we're seeing here, there's really nothing that Life can do. There has been no angle that he could have taken to really shut down the mech on this map. I mean, he had one decent attack on the gold base, and that was a big failure as well.
I feel like Life is being very cost efficient with what he's trying to do, but it's important to note that he doesn't take any big major bad fights, and he's not overextending. Like, this is pretty risky. He was about to do with these Roaches, but he might just have to trade them out anyways because he needs more supply and better units.
You got one of the turrets here. You can get behind the line, but still, he's going to be losing a lot of these Roaches for us.
Trying to find an angle here behind the gold base as well, and just simply too many tanks. And oftentimes for meching players, versus Zerg, the win condition is having your weapon refit for your BCs, and once you have that, and you have Ravens out, the Zerg player cannot win if you can keep your Vikings alive. It's just so difficult. One thing to note, though, is he doesn't have very many Vikings at all.
Oh, man. Look at that engineering bay block. There's no chance they can get in there and do the damage, especially with tanks behind it and now BCs.
I do feel like he needs to bolster his Viking count, though. He only has 8. He's going up to 10. He's going to need probably more than that because Vipers are his biggest problem, and Life is making a lot of them.
Yep, Vipers as well as, eventually Corruptors. He wants that pretty sound anti-air army ready for that big tech switch. And this looks like it might be a throwaway army right now.
It really does look like that with 4K gas saved up here. Just going to try to snipe out some of the units, trade out a bunch of these Roaches and maybe some of the Hydras. Before he does go for that big remax. Going to make some more Ultras, maybe not ready just yet.
Yeah, more Ultras on that. That's interesting that he chooses to go for Ultras, and you'd think he'd want to add some Corruptors as well, but his air unit upgrades are so far behind because he got that Spire so late. We see the first few Corruptors start now, but I mean, he's so far behind in terms of upgrades and just numbers in general.
He's going to do that ZBZ 400 WCS move here with the Spore Crawlers where you abduct flying units into spores. Definitely does give you a little bit more anti-air power than even a Hydralisk will. And I do like this. It also, you could just continue to move forward with these units to slow down any pushes. He's going to lose this base. Maru with a smart scan, and with +3 on siege tanks and tank mode, they can actually burst down almost anything very quickly. They might even kill an Ultralisk with this, and he will.
Yeah, he will.
And Maru at this point also is looking to be trading out some of these tanks for some extra BCs, some extra Ravens as well. And that's really the mark of, some really strong mech play as well. Just identifying, okay, he's going to want to mine out these more forward bases a bit earlier on. So I really want to deny that for the very, very late game here.
One of the most important bases, especially for Terran, which we've seen time and time again fight for, is that top center position, on this position of the map. If you can get that base and solidify it and really split the map in half, it highly favors Terran going into that late game when it's all about the banks and remaxes.
I feel like the composition for Life isn't centered around enough of anything in particular to actually win a fight here at this location. He's trying to set up these spores. Notice Maru's biggest fear is the Corruptors. He's making a ton of turrets so that if Corruptors or any sort of flying unit fly over this, it's going to take so much extra damage. He's also adding 4 more starports. He's got tons of Ravens already. He's preparing for that Corruptor switch. So he knows it's one of the scary things that can actually end his life here.
Yeah, well, I mean, 8 Ravens and adding more now, and already so much energy on all of them. Like, he's in a good place to deal with just about any army, but he doesn't want to get surprised by that Corruptor switch. Life has just been playing this so carefully, though. He has not thrown away his army once.
All right, he's got 6K, so he's got a big bank, and he will have the ability to remax multiple times. And the more cost-efficient he is, the more money he's going to have off of these bases.
How many orbitals does Maru have at this point in the game? I'm just curious.
At least 12. The last time I saw on the screen was 11. He's definitely got quite a few. Going to make this one into a planetary. Going to secure this base. And no way for Life to really attack that. He doesn't have very many range units anymore. He's only got 15 Hydras. If you press that T key, you can see how many orbitals there are exactly. There are 12. I was right on the money.
All right. Well, that's a lot. And here we go. The first big fight of the game. Really a huge committal from Life. But look at those blinding clouds. Beautifully done there.
Yeah, but
blinding clouds.
he still can't get through the wall before they fade away, I believe. It looks like there's just too many turrets in the front as well. PDD's now going down.
Seeker Missile's going to get some big hits on the Hydras.
Here come the Seeker Missiles blowing up. These pretty good transfusions, actually, to keep a lot of those Queens alive.
There's Ultras still going at the front, too. A lot of energy left over.
But the BCs and most of the tanks are out of position for this fight. Now that they come over, he will clean this up easily. The thing is that he killed the planetary. And more important than the gold minerals is actually the gas that will be lost here for Maru.
Got to get some more PDDs down here to deal with these Queens. He's just fighting straight up. There we go. PDDs coming down, and it looks like Life is going to have to back off, but a huge remax into Corruptors and 8 Infestors.
So he's going to go for that hard anti-air, but at the same time, 6 BCs on the way. Like, Maru isn't too far behind at all at the end of all things here. And he only lost a mined out gold base for it, so not a bad place at all. And look
Yummy.
at that. Look at the bank for Maru. He's miles ahead of Life at this point.
Yeah. And he's also taking the gases at this base. He is going to move into position to defend this as he scans. There are no Zerg units anywhere else. Queens are going to be the harass, plus infestors here. Here comes the first fungal. And there's the second. He should kill every SCV here, and even if he doesn't, no mining while they're stuck in place. But how worth it will this be? He needs to pull those BCs back. It's a lot of Corruptors coming his way, 39 in fact.
Needs the PDDs to come down, and here we go, mass PDD, but Corruption coming down onto all those BCs. It looks like there's not enough PDDs. Huge Seeker Missiles coming in.
Game changer there. Life was not paying attention, and he took some massive hits for it.
Very little splitting there, and in fact, kind of at the last second panicking and pulling the Seeker Missiles into more of his Corruptors. And those Thors were just blasting out damage the entire time.
Yeah, the Corruptors didn't have the best split either, so especially after the Seeker Missiles went down. Some nice damage coming in here.
All right, nice little Ling harassment as well on that gold base again. And he's rotating around to this base. It is a planetary, and there are tanks behind it, losing some infestors for free there, but still a lot left over with a lot of energy.
Maru is down to 26 Harvesters. Yeah, he has a lot of orbitals, but this means that more important than some lost mining and some gas mining he's going to have to reallocate is his army sites can get even bigger. He's up to 164 army supply. So many of that in BCs, Ravens, and Vikings, exactly what he wants in this comp. I'm a bit surprised we're even seeing Broodlords on the table right now because I just don't think that Life is ready for that. Yeah,
that's an ambitious move considering he's up against a pure anti-air army at this point. But I guess he can kind of siege from afar at this new base down here. He's going to try once again. He's got to be so careful there.
Going to try to move these spores forward first. Keep some of these queens alive with transfuses.
It's just so funny because there's just so few tanks here, but there are enough to zone this.
Oh, look at this. Going to zone him out with some Seeker Missiles. They're not going to find the hits.
Going to fall down there. Broodlord's moving back into position. All they need is a few bursts to take out all these tanks in the front.
Maru's so scared of these infestors, he's not even going to challenge these Broodlords, which are blatantly in range.
Yeah, some Yamato cannons would do the trick.
That's what he's going to do. There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Line him up, knock him down. Goodbye, 4 Broodlords.
Same time.
He remakes exactly 4 right after that. He's like, how many did I lose? Doing the inventory.
He wants to line him up again.
Look at that. He cleared the entire creep up the top here. So another base opening up for Maru in due time.
He's got plenty of orbitals to send that direction. This is a crazy harass. Look at that tank. He's crazy, guys.
Wow. Going for the hit.
That Sergeant Hammer, guys. Getting right up there behind those minerals.
Never want to siege up right in the front. You're going to get ganked. All right, he's going to see this Yamato's being used again. Sorry, man. There's way more than 4 Yamatos ready. Looks like Life might want to try to take an engage here. But I'm not sure if this is going to work out. A good fungal on some of these Vikings, but there's more behind this.
Oh, look at that spread as well with the Corruptors. Very smartly done there, but still just way too much air units for Maru.
He's going to get some fungals here on the BC. He's going for Corruption, trying to take him down, but the PDDs in the back really helping out. No more Seeker Missiles coming down.
Oh, ugly fight here. And look at the Bank of Life. It is completely gone at this point, and still such a healthy one for Maru.
Well, can you check the upgrade? Yeah, he doesn't even have +3 for his Corruptors yet.
No, he is so far behind. I believe he has no armor.
He has no armor. +1 Carapace?
I think it's +1.
Okay. That's still pretty bad.
Yeah.
Like, he needs to be even, or at least, I mean, or at least closer right would be better is what I'm trying to kind of choke out here. But either way, you could just tell this fight, even with all the fungals, you're like, oh my god, and then it's like, well, the Zerg army just dies, never mind.
Yeah,
Look at this.
Here is the final fight of Life. He's got no more bank left over, and just the giant mech army pushing through once again. Maru is going to go for the fight over the spores this time.
That is too much, but there's a lot of Corruptors still being remade at this point. Got to be so careful here. Overextending, a classic mistake from Maru in previous games.
I want to point out to some maybe potentially newer players, when you look at the supplies, you see max out versus max out. Doesn't mean that the 2 armies should be of even strength. Doesn't mean that one army, doesn't mean Terra's overpowered because he wins this fight. Look at the upgrades and also look at the cost. The cost of Maru's army is was more than 4 times that of Life's before that fight started.
Yeah.
It's a more expensive army. He took a long time to build it. He turtled up. And guess what? Maru takes it. And it closes things out.
And that smirk you see on his face, I'd like to call that the mech smirk on Terraform.
I like that. That does make a lot of sense as well. Pretty cruisy lost game there. It's hard when the Zerg is in that position. They haven't found any damage all game long.
And Maru, he was 100% the choice for that map. I mean, he looked so much more polished, even from his game against Rogue. He really just made that very one-sided for himself.
And it's good to see his mech so polished after, last time we saw him against Rogue, he was a bit shaky, but this time around, he had a great game plan. He knew exactly what he had to do.
I have to question the choice of putting Life out on Terraform as well. When you know there's a scary mech player, just a good Terran player overall that could be coming out pretty likely, considering how well Terrans are playing on that map and how much they favored it versus Zerg recently. Maybe they just were not expecting Maru. But either way, Jin Air takes a big upset win today, shocking a lot of people. I think part of this comes down to the momentum in the earlier part of the series, as well as the SOS win with a crazy strat.
I definitely feel like, especially in those first two games, Flash and TY not really up to snuff. Not what we were expecting out of those two players. Crazy game, TY going down to Pig Babies, 3 base, 8-9 gate Blink Stalker all in.
Yeah, that was crazy. That's like a very Zerg killing sort of style that you'd normally see on even that map as well. Some really disappointing games. I can't believe that actually happened with TY and Flash. So favored in those matches, just completely hard counted.
I have to, I don't want to really actually take that much away from KT Rolster today. They just got outclassed. The preparation for Jin Air was clearly better. We saw a weak game from Flash in the late game. His early game was solid. TY got caught off guard. Okay, that's fine. Super wins his game. Zest really misjudging the situation versus SOS. He had Colossus range, had multiple gateways. He had set up for an attack. Didn't do it. SOS caught up, beat him with a better fight. Late Forge upgrades. And you just look at Maru versus Life, and you see how well he played. It's like, well, is Life a good choice on Terraform? I feel like Jin Air took this match a lot more seriously, put a lot of prep, had really cool snipe builds. Super was the only player KT Rolster brought to the table that looked unique and looked like he had some special build.
Yeah,
that was a nasty game.
Yeah, that's one you want to forget about, guys, in my mind. Gear definitely had all the tools to take down Super there, but just really did not execute, whereas Super was not as clean as he would have liked to be either.
Yeah, still, I guess a win is a win, and it was the one win for KT today, but hopefully KT can turn it around tomorrow, or they're just going to be out.
Their format tomorrow, the all-kill format, does favor them, I feel personally. I think that it is a good format for them. I think that this is going to be their chance to bring it to that third and final match on Wednesday. But yeah, like you said, if they lose it tomorrow, they're out, and that would be huge because they are the defending champions of Pro League. A lot of people want to see them play against SKT again. That's what the fans want. But they have to survive, and performances, map picks like this that we're seeing today, not cutting it. Not gonna